There we go. Excuse me. Hello, everyone. Let me just take a quick second here. I'm going to play around with my menus a little bit. Before I start this game, I am going to need a minute or two to sort out where I'm at. Well, hello, Captain Shield. Good to see you. There are some opportunities for me to turn this into a very big win. And there are also some opportunities for me to absolutely screw this up. So I am going to reflect a bit on my options, and we won't do what's right, but we will do what's best for me. And I'm alright, Captain Shield. I also have there's all sorts of fun and and madness to uh-oh. What's going on here? I can kind of get away with revoking this. I think I have some other plans about how I'm going to handle this. There's actually some details from today, but I think I need to break this down. I'll probably get some of the game stuff dealt with, and then I can make the blog / podcast / just general chat. We can get that side of things taken care of a little bit later. So, Captain Shield says kill the kid, and that is the last thing I want to do, because it is actually very much to my advantage that yeah, it's very much to my advantage that so for this kid I am his regent. For this kid, Bishop Rodolph is the regent, and I don't know what happens if excuse me. I don't know what happens if they if I'm assuming what happens, because this kid inherits the title, I'm assuming he keeps his existing regent. Which means that for 7 years I have this kid in my power, and this can potentially work very well for me. There are also ways that this thing can just totally blow up in my face, but that's what we're going to be dealing with for the next little bit. So, yeah, let's take a look at the situation that we find ourselves in right now. So, what's the number one thing that I want to do? This is actually something I screwed up in terms of my plots. I want to off this kid and take his land, but it's very unlikely. Thank you very much for that host, Captain Shield. It's very unlikely that this will happen within the next year. Yeah, basically, it probably would have triggered in time for the succession to work to my advantage, but I actually canceled it because with my vassal, excuse me, or sorry, with my liege, I can do a plot to claim Lombardy from this kid, and when I'm the regent, I believe I automatically. Oh, I see. I get what you mean, Captain Shield. So yeah, this kid will stay alive. I'd actually prematurely tried to do the plot, and I paid a bunch of people for it. And what I didn't realize is that I can't actually trigger that event until all the wars are done. So Lombardy is clearly very weak, which means that all the vultures are kind of coming in to try and claim what they can. So, with that in mind, I'm basically going to think a little bit about how I want to use my existing military resources to push things to my favor. So the first person who I want to get stomped is Lambert of the Lombard Revolt. This is because this guy was originally putting a claim on my territory. So, having the ability to kind of just stomp him is nice. I don't have much to fear from him by way of his claims, but obviously it's just a nice little chance for me to break up some of his holdings. And sorry guys, I've got I had some pizza, which was very delicious, but apparently there's a small bit of it stuck in my teeth, and I don't think I have any floss nearby. And it's driving me absolutely bonkers. I'm just going to try a quick glass of water, see if I can flush it out. Nope, that didn't work at all. So yeah, Duke Lambert's more of a personal thing, to be totally honest. Let's take a quick look. I don't know... I don't actually know what the... Okay, so I'm assuming this is just so that he can become the king. Now they call it the combo, so green pepper and mushrooms and pepperoni and all the good things. So yeah, basically, actually, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna get some floss. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be pausing every 10 seconds. So I'll be back in like 30 seconds. I did not realize that it was mint-flavored dental floss, so I got myself a little dessert as well. Okay. So, definitely don't want this guy to be king. No way he's going to become king. And I definitely want to make sure that he loses this war. And he's sort of on his way to doing so. So next up, Queen Charlotte of France. Now, this is a French claim on Nice, which is currently under siege. So as somebody who wants to take the kingdom of Lombardy, this isn't great. Now, one thing that is nice... Oh, actually, she's a bit stronger than I thought. That's because of the hired help. So one of the things I was thinking was, if I really wanted to be a hero, I could make a move on the French army and sort of make it a bit of a stalemate. But the biggest thing here is, like, you know, it would be nice if we could keep more of Italy. Clearly, once all is said and done, if I were to become the king of Lombardy, I would definitely want to be getting some of that territory back from France. But for the purposes of like immediate things that I want to deal with right now, I can sort of accept the loss of a single county to the French. You know, and especially given the fact that the Scots are involved in this, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to just calm down, let these guys take their prize, and you know, and leave it be. Sorry, now I'm like obsessed with flossing every single one of my teeth. Okay, next up, who else are we losing to? So in this one, we are losing to Duke Rodold the Wise. Now this is actually one that I care about, because this is a Corsican war for Ravenna, Treviso, and Padua. I own 2 of those. So basically what happened here was he took Genoa. Now he's currently sitting on 1,700 troops. The rest is the Scottish army. The plan that I was going to employ here was I was going to let him gobble up a bunch of his units in terms of sieging down provinces, and then once he started threatening my territory, I would basically make the move on him and I'd just devastate his army. The important thing to remember on a lot of this too is that the AI is going to be doing what it can to defend the nation. So the AI is going to be throwing some troops into this as well. So the Corsican one is the #1 invasion I want to stop, and this is because it will take territory away from me if I don't succeed in putting an end to it right away. But it's important to remember too that I actually have a plan for dealing with that. My army is strong enough to take them on, and it's much more of a question in terms of what are the best circumstances under which I can do it. If I can, this is one of the reasons why I'm a little less worried about the fight for Nice, and it's ultimately because once the French and the Scottish are no longer involved, this guy is pretty weak, and I can just move in on him. So essentially what this means, this thing's essentially done. These guys I have a plan for. These guys I'm waiting to remove. Again, it would be nice if we didn't lose the county, but we're considering where do we want to put our resources. So what are the last ones? Well, we've got a host. In this case, they want to take Ferrara, which I'm not particularly crazy about. They are reasonably strong, so I'm a little curious what the AI does here. But of course, the nice thing is that Ferrara is currently held by the rebel. So I'm also particularly interested when the war against this guy goes under. I'd be interested in seeing what happens to this host. So I figure probably the way I'll handle this guy doesn't have really any land. So what I kind of figure here is in the worst case scenario, we wait for him to win his war, and then we just invade and take Ferrara for ourselves, because of course he's a heathen. So this one I might get involved with, but I kind of want to see which way the wind is blowing. And then finally we have got the Benevento rebellion. So what's going on here? Why are they angry? Oh, sorry, Benevento. Okay, so this seems like it's just a straight up peasant revolt. This one's a little tricky to figure out because it's actually, in terms of numbers, is stronger than my area. I don't have a lot to do with this. I think what'll probably happen is I'm going to wait for all of these to get knocked off, and we'll see what happens with this particular peasant revolt in the end. But yeah, so essentially the name of the game at the moment is just to sit and wait. I want to see what the AI does in terms of committing troops towards these, towards these invading units, and then I want to see where I can sort of maximize my gains while minimizing my losses of troops. And in the best case, the one thing that I want to stomp unquestionably is the Corsican invasion. But second priority really is to get all of these wars dealt with as quickly as possible, because that may mean that I'm able to usurp the throne. And of course, then I'd need to try and figure out as many alliances as I could possibly make with the neighbors. Now, as far as my other ambitions are concerned, I mean, I have an opportunity to gain a new title. So in this case, we're again, it's not really guaranteed, but you never know. Looks like I've got a heretic bishop in Mantua, so while normally I would be hunting apostates, we will proselytize in Mantua and make sure that all of my subjects are brought to the one true faith. I'm going to keep the steward doing what he does best. We'll continue to train troops in the capital. And I think the rest of this is roughly where it needs to be. I am slightly curious. Okay, so the Chancellor is currently pressing the flesh. I can live with that. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game, but it's going to be a particularly interesting one, because basically there's going to be certain safety valves that when certain events happen, I'm going to sort of pull the trigger and I'm going to make myself more active. But the real key here is going to be building up as much wealth and basically get myself into as good of a position as I possibly can in order to take advantage of some future situations. One last thing I want to take a quick look at. Okay, so I actually want to start considering what my options are in terms of alliances with Queen Charlotte. So let's arrange a betrothal. Currently at war. Okay. So that's inconvenient, but there you have it. East Francia. So there's already a betrothal there. It's 10-year-old. Interesting. So apparently I can't... What about the 4-year-old? Oh, you know what? I probably hit marriage instead of betrothal. Also, more importantly, let's just take a look at his strength. I mean, not really noteworthy. I'm not entirely sure I should worry too much about Francia at the moment. Croatia is a non-entity. Poland... I'm a little worried about this because the numbers seem too good to be true. I suppose the big concern is maintaining relations with the Byzantine Empire. So, oops, we'll arrange the betrothal. Okay, and he doesn't want, it's basically the political reasons are are the reason he doesn't want that. Okay, we might have to wait till we're on the throne before we can make this all work. But I am a patient man, and hopefully all of you are, because we're unpausing now. All right, I don't know why they raised those units, but that is unfortunate for my. That is unfortunate for my liege. So they're just kind of sitting on this. I think one of the reasons for this is that they don't. So I think the reason why the AI doesn't want to commit to a move right now. If they make the move on Mantua, then that means that the Scots and the Corsicans can move in with a stronger force. If they move to Parma, similar idea. It's a little bit more balanced, but there's still the possibility of harm. I'm not quite sure why they're not making a move on Ferrara, to be totally honest. But we'll see what happens. And I'm assuming that the French are just moving to unite with some of their stronger units. Yeah, we'll make it 3. My marshal has secluded himself as Mantua and is unable to perform his tasks. Yes, let's see what horrible disease this really is. Camp fever. It's driving me insane. Now that I wasn't expecting. This is more or less exactly what I thought the French would be doing, so. Yeah, so we want this number to go as negative as possible pretty much immediately. Alright, so I lost my Chancellor. Mayor Oedeker is no longer Chancellor for Duke Gunold. Fortunately, I've still got a pretty good Chancellor, Gloryhound, but... And at age 29, my acquaintance has died of camp fever. Just as long as it's not me. Now, I'm genuinely curious why they are sieging the individual holding of the king. That's why. These are dark days. My wife, Duchess Hildegard, has been beset by strange rashes and episodes of delirium over the last few weeks. I have just been informed that her affliction is indeed camp fever. Call the court physician. Okay, so looks like the king's doing the king thing. This is a very bold move. In fact, this might be foolish, but I do want to help as much as I can on this. Holy crap, he's pulling it off. Sent packing. All right. So what I'll do here is we'll drop the vassal levies. That's just to keep my court reasonably happy with me. Hello, Seti. How are you doing? Okay. My betrothed kid. It is matrilineal because I want the bloodline to stay. So she is really good at the rough and tumble. So Arona focuses her studies on the ways of military strategy and war. Rowdy and willful children will do better on this education, while timid children and idolizers will be hampered. All right. I don't have a designated regent yet. Is Ivor the next? No, apparently... So apparently I can't arrange for this guy's, I can't arrange for this guy's release? That doesn't make sense. I have a feeling he's gonna wind up sacrificed to some pagan god, but... Been reading about the growth models you mentioned last week. You had a couple questions, if you don't mind. I will do my absolute best, Seti. What are some of your questions? These are dark days. My daughter, Amalfrida, has been beset by strange rashes and episodes of delirium over the last few weeks. I've just been informed that she also has camp fever. Another call for the physician. After being skillfully treated by the court physician Bishop Ibor of Aquileia, my daughter Amalfrida is feeling much better. Perhaps he is deserving of some praise. Should compensate him for a job well done. We get along well enough, so I will make him my designated regent. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the wife. Wife still has camp fever. Oh, so does my daughter, but apparently he did a good job of it. That's mild treatment. Okay, so not a whole lot here. We technically lost a couple of troops doing this because we had to siege down the territory. So similar idea here, right? With Nupa's host, I can go attack them. It's pretty dicey because they're really close. Or alternatively, I can go and try and take on these weak guys here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to wait on the outside. And when I can, I'm going to gobble up whoever the... Yeah, so we're just going to plow straight into... into the Corsicans. The chaos about her, your men have managed to corner Maya Alhis. He resisted bravely before they slew him. Alright. It is worth mentioning, like, it is nice to take on little bits of war because it's not just like, so I've never really explained this. It'll give you this breakdown, right? So we lost 38 guys to their 235, but we get a little bit of prestige, we get a little bit of piety, but we also get military technology bonuses. So there's sometimes some nice improvements that you can get as a result of doing these sort of things. So we captured Guido, but it doesn't really count for much. Seti is asking, it seems to you that none of these addressed factor substitution as much as automation is warranting right now. Accounting for capital, labor, and technology linearly, as Mead does, misrepresent... I don't know who Mead is. Misrepresents the growing imbalance between value added by investment and technology and labor force and how much labor force is needed to scale the system. So I'm going to have to do a Google search on Mead before I can answer your question. Hmm. So, I mean, all I could do is do a quick look at the Wikipedia and know that I'm not really able to give this any justice. So this is not something I'm personally familiar with. But taking a quick look at the model like that, like basically, I think what you normally look at in models like those, you have, so like the big guy who sort of created this framework for working with, and again, with models, they're always approximations. So you will have things like, the big three that you normally wind up with is capital, labor, and then technological progress. And there's a few different ways that you can model technological progress. It's, labor augmenting, capital augmenting. I think the third is called Hicks neutral. But generally, all of these sort of estimates that you're making are what you're trying to do is saying is like, okay, how do we account for output? And in the Solow model, you have sort of this account of technological progress. Obviously, technological progress may mean something that is different from what you and I normally think of in terms of technological progress. So for instance, if you go to the office and you buy a bunch of new computers, that's a capital expenditure. That's not actually, that's not really technological progress in the sense of the Solow growth model. But let's say going from paper record keeping to electronic record keeping, that's probably a little better of an example of technological progress, because what you've done is you've introduced a better way of doing things. So it's not just that you measure the capital expenditure in the form of the computer versus the filing cabinet. There's going to be the fact that these factors of production have been better organized. I need to catch up with what you wrote here, though. So Mead's models seem to be the better of the ones that you found, better than Solow. So Solow his is just the original one. Like that is the most basic version of it, to which people have extended. The question that's coming works in general for whichever model you consider the most accurate. Your problem is, how can you fully realize technological investment growth potential while also having full employment, seeing how factor substitution is pushing the ratio towards the capital technologies? Well, so, like, this is just it. Like, so if your question is, like, some of this is just accounting. So when I do an applied paper on some of this stuff, I'm usually pretty careful. Like, I have no problem saying the residual term when referring to technology, because I understand that there are factors which have not been accounted for, which, whether or not, we want to say that it's pure technological progress or not, is, that's a point of debate. I have a guy who likes getting really pedantic about this stuff, and I always just keep pointing out, it's like, this model does not say that this is pure technological progress. There is very clearly other things going on, by virtue of the fact that there are other papers which say that this thing is important, and we've not accounted for it. So it's a residual, because that's what it is, and I'm not going to say that it's something that it isn't. As far as this idea, so I'm going to go back to your original question here. So you, labor and, okay, so, I'm just trying to think of the best way to handle it. Like, the main thing that I usually wind up doing is a very heavy sort of applied exercise. So it's basically there is a model that we take and we build up, we try and estimate these things. So for instance, what is the output elasticity of labor? What is the output elasticity of capital? And these are not things that you can directly go out into the world and measure. And so you need to make some inferences. So the common thing that we do is that these things operate in competitive markets, and so as a result, you can usually find the return to labor pretty well. That's just what people are getting paid. And if there are constant returns to scale, you can figure out the output elasticity of capital by simply taking 1 minus the output elasticity, or the returns to the share of output going to labor. You can subtract that from 1 because of the constant returns to scale assumption. So there's a few things that can happen. You can say, so, like, if you think the model, so like any mismeasurement that comes out, like, if your assumptions are violated or something like that, you're just going to see sort of a change in that residual term. It might go up, larger or smaller than what you'd expected, because essentially that is the difference between output and the factors of production that we can't account for. So one of the big things that you're getting at is the actual form that the production function takes, or whether there even is such a thing as a production function. I don't really like going into those kinds of debates as much because I just find it a very useful approximation. But I think you sort of get this idea. Like, so in the most basic version, and the one that I think most people work with day to day, if things don't work the way that they do in terms of the assumptions, then it tends to fall into the residuals. And I think what you're sort of getting at is that there's something very unique going on in terms of automation. Something in the sense that would not be accounted for in the sense of any of these other measures. And I suppose to a certain extent we're going to watch how things play out and they move on. But I guess the biggest thing that I look at is that AI and any other kinds of workplace automation, like, in some senses it is very familiar. Like, it's not like we've not had situations where new processes and new technologies come in and create a big set of disruptions. And especially because a lot of the stuff that I work on is pretty neutral in terms of the functional form of the production function, for reasons that you sort of know. Oh. Yeah, it's a question that came up, Seti, from Serial, so. Well, yes, because when you click on the technology button here, you can have military, economic, and culture advances. And there's a very reasonable question to ask: why did, for thousands of years, the standard of living not advance that much from the fall of the Roman Empire to the Industrial Revolution? And then following the Industrial Revolution, we start seeing basically doubling in terms of standard of living over the population's lifetime. So if you don't like it, it's totally fine. I know not everybody does, but I was asked a question, and it was something that came up before. So perhaps you can just trust me that it is actually something we do here. Go right ahead, Cereal Box. I invite you to do so, and I will not join you, but I'm sure you will have a group of people who come along. But yeah, basically, Seti, the best that I can sort of say on this is that I'm not always convinced that we're in some new paradigm shift that can't be accounted for in existing growth accounting frameworks. So if you think of it this way, right, some of the stuff that other sort of economists wind up doing is they do some stuff in terms of political economy. And you can sort of see little hints of this in terms of Crusader Kings 2, right? Because you've got a way of organizing society such that you have this group of dependencies. I kind of kick something upstairs to the king, and then I have a bunch of people that I'm sort of responsible for. And it's not that there's no benefits to that. Obviously, the land's getting worked, and people have a level of safety so that there aren't sort of groups coming in and burning up the crops or just simply taking away possessions. But very clearly, this is not a system that we implement today because there are simply better ways of organizing society to produce more. And then if I want to sound particularly Republican, it's because of the free market and the fact that people own what they do. But it's true. And in fact, there's a really good book by Darren Acemoglu and Jim Robinson called Why Nations Fail. And it actually does a number of these comparisons in terms of sort of the colonial histories of certain countries and why some prospered and some didn't. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I can sort of say is that if I'm trying to bring it, so you're obviously asking a much more sophisticated question than I can really answer for the purposes of a stream. But I guess the heart of the question that I can sort of see here is, does AI, does all of this process of automation and whatnot that we're running into, is this something that's, totally beyond our ability to account for it inside of existing growth accounting frameworks? I'm not so convinced on that right now. There may be a shift. It may be that capital winds up being responsible for more of production. I think the usual experience has been that we, there's displacement that happens. There's sort of a reorganization of the different types of jobs that we do and such. But sometimes it just gets a little disappointing in terms of finding out how similar so much of the world becomes. But in terms of some of that, I think what I would need is a little bit more content in terms of how specific assumptions of these models don't align with certain things that are going on inside of the real world. So obviously, perfectly competitive markets is an abstraction that's probably not very true in the real world, but it's a useful enough approximation that it gets us where we need to go. And I think over the long run, things do tend to behave that way, which is, of course, usually what growth accounting is looking for. But I kind of have a feeling that I didn't really answer what you were looking for. Let me see if I can find some more details. Sorry, there was something about there was something about full employment, but I think I can handle him being a diplomat. Okay, what it seems to you is capital and technological growth are growing so fast you have to either forfeit the dream of full employment. Well, there's always, I think it's pretty much accepted in most cases that there's a natural rate of unemployment. And that's not actually a bad thing. So basically, I guess there's the idea that if I were to lose my job, but I lost it because I saw there was a better opportunity, maybe I'll just go and work for a company like MindGeek or something like that. That's fine. It's more sort of structural unemployment where we have a bunch of fishermen, and we fished out the oceans. There's no more fish anymore. and we somehow have to turn them into computer programmers in time for updates. So, I don't know though. It's what was I gonna say? Forfeit the dream of full employment within a job-free market, or miss out on productivity. Yep. Well, I mean that's just it, right? Like, nobody has ever sat down in like an economics paper and said that. So like all that productivity is in terms of like the measurement, like, so a lot of what I talked about last stream was just measurement stuff, right? Like, so you're saying, how does an economist measure productivity? Well, basically they take the things that we know that produce outputs, and we take a look at what's left over. And it's multi-factor productivity growth. Or if you do it at labor, you can talk about labor productivity. Or for capital, you can talk about capital productivity. And then there's other stuff like measuring like the productivity of natural resources and stuff like that too. I need to find a new wife. Non-aggression pact between who? Okay, I can live with that. But yeah, like there's no rule to say that you know, everyone has to maximize productivity and that this is the greatest good. What we do know is that increases in labor productivity tend to be associated with increases in sort of living standards in terms of things like real incomes. Those tend to go up. In the case of, you know what, maybe I should be organizing by political. Yeah, let's look for something that'll still produce babies, but yeah. So in this case, but you're right. Like, so there can be other sort of social reasons in terms of saying that maybe we're going to put the brakes on this thing right now because, you know, we're not convinced that the long-term benefit is there or what have you. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but I think in one sense there's sort of a sneaking in of an assumption that's not necessarily true so far as how the what the priority is, maybe. Again, generally, better standards of living is a desirable goal, but it's not necessarily the only one. What was the other thing that you'd said? Cereal Box said you don't know much about economics, but you'll say machine learning is overhyped as all hell, and you're a long way away from the future the doomsayers are predicting. Fair enough, but I mean, it depends on the application, in my view. Like, I do think there's usually like a speculative bubble in terms of what, in terms of like people using things. So like, I know 101 people who go and read, you know, an introduction to statistical learning with applications to R, and then all of a sudden they go, you know, running around bugging everyone about these brand new machine learning applications for their. I'm just trying to find a good supplement to my stewardship. You know, they just wind up creating more problems because they don't really know the models that they're doing. But on the other hand, like, one really good thing about machine learning is that it gives you a reach that you didn't have before. So really 17 is the best that I've got as far as everybody else is super old. I mean, 21's not terrible. Yeah, we'll go for it. But yeah, so it depends what you want to do. Like, so if I have like 101 different computers and I want to find out like what goes in to make a computer price what it is, like if I want to adjust for a quality improvement over time, machine learning might help me out because it does a good job of giving me predicted prices for computers. And that's one of the ways that I can piece out quality changes. But on the other hand, if it's going to be like, I'm going to know what's going on inside of your head through some machine learning algorithm based on like your Twitter post or something like that, I don't really have a lot to add to that. Seti says the example you'd bring. I'm just going to take a second here. I'll just get through chat and then I'll like dedicate the time to the game. So, capital-intensive factories like steel, our biggest steel manufacturing company, could the same productivity while laying off 4,000 people, but the state is blocking them from doing that. You could say no regulation would fix it, but you're not sure that those people would be reabsorbed into the job market anywhere else at the moment. Sure. So, I mean, in some sense, like, you have governments that have actually specifically set as a policy goal to lower productivity as much as possible in the name of trying to get the maximum number of person hours worked in an industry. And we already know what the end of that is, which is that basically prices go up and people's real wages go down. So the question here, like, if you're interested in policy, which is not something that I really work in, you might say it's like, okay, so do we want to regulate it so that they can't be let go? Or do we want to come up with some sort of a transfer system where people are compensated for the fact that they were let go? Because one of the one side effect is that, productivity improvements are when you make the same amount of you make the same amount of output with fewer resources or less. Or alternatively, I make more output with the same resources or less. They're roughly equivalent statements. And sometimes that can mean unemployment. Like, if there are redundancies in a job, that's, usually people will be let go in those cases. And the blog post that I put out was about unemployment, so I don't want to be flippant about that. That's a real thing that affects people. But it's not necessarily so the trick here is that it's not necessarily obvious that keeping people employed in an unproductive sector is necessarily the way we should take care of it. And it might just simply be an indication of some failings in terms of existing social programs that we already have, like unemployment insurance or something. I guess it's called employment insurance now. But those are some other factors that might be at play. And I try to be policy neutral in this sort of stuff, because obviously, if somebody asks me to measure productivity in the economy, I will. And those are sort of, I don't need to make as many assumptions about the functional form, but it would be nice if I could. So I don't do a good job of answering your question there. And then the broader social question of what do we do about all the people who wind up out of work, that's an important question. Sometimes that's not even a question that economists should be answering. Obviously, one easy thing that I can say is we should find some things for those people to do. In the case of Canada, we have grants for people who want to make video games. So if you guys have ever played Outlast, or I think Mark of the Ninja, Guacamelee is another one that came out of that. There's a few games that have actually been Dead by Daylight's another example. There are some games that have actually been funded by the Canadian government. Now, they got the money back in the case of the successful ones. But this is not a bad example, right? Which is that if there's something that's preventing people from being able to create businesses, maybe what we need is some system by which people who get sort of knocked out of some jobs through technological progress, not technological progress as we defined before, but just new ways of doing things which make them redundant in terms of that position. It might be that we want to be considering how we encourage the formation of new businesses. And I have a feeling that they'll probably be in things like creative businesses. I mean, if you take a look at streaming, this is why this, to answer Serial Box's question before, how is this stuff relevant to the game and such? I mean, they really do weave in and out, and with streaming in particular, because if you think of a streamer like Total Biscuit, now I wasn't really a huge fan, but obviously he's a very successful streamer. But there's an entire group of people who know him as John, that failed insurance guy. Like, that was the job that he had before he became a streamer. And when the financial crisis hit, he was out of a job. I believe he was made redundant in that case, which is just a fancy way of saying they're cutting people out and they're moving, they're moving forward without you. So you know, one way or another, he was able to get his needs taken care of over time. He was able to establish himself as a broadcaster, and ultimately he was able to do very well for himself financially doing that. And I have a feeling that's one of the things that would happen. Now again, what the role of the government is in terms of easing that transition, I'm actually kind of neutral on it. Because there's also limits to what I know. I don't have a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't have a big encyclopedia sitting beside me in terms of all the right answers, and I think it's very important for people who know these subjects to be very clear in terms of when they're just stating a broad opinion and when they're, you know, when they're drawing from a particular, you know, a particular data point or some work that they've done or something along those lines. But my own sort of view is that I have a feeling that there will be a bit of a shift in terms of some more quote-unquote creative industries. And part of that's just going to be that those are ones that are a little bit harder to automate away. But that's even going to, I mean, there's going to be changes that happen with that too. The ability to scan real-life objects, like photoreal is going to be something that indie game devs are going to be able to do on a pretty short time horizon. I wouldn't be surprised within 5 years or so if everything just winds up looking like it's been scanned through a, you know, through, I don't know, like a, what do you call those things? Like a Kinect or whatever. So this is the big trick, right? Like, unless you have a model and some credible inferences in terms of how that works and why that applies to the world, nobody can really predict the future. And that isn't necessarily what we're always doing when we do this sort of stuff too. So to the Honorable Duke Gundold, peace be with you. I accept your suggestion that, yeah, excellent. Okay, I've got my wife. Yep, absolutely true, Seti. And then Serial Box said, you know, in accounting, accountants do less clerical work, spend more time understanding business processes. Their jobs are a higher level of abstraction these days, and all their jobs were the first to be automated away by computers. Serial actually just made a great point there, too, because if you think of it, what was automated away in the case of accountants is the stuff that's very uninteresting. Like, so you do not hire a PhD mathematician so that he can do very complicated algebra. You hire a PhD mathematician so that they can create a proof and like a theorem that holds, you know, for all worlds, for all time, basically. So in this case here, right, the most productive use of people at the moment is to get them to do this abstract thinking. And as he says, you know, to think about business processes and to create the value that way. And that, in my view, is a good thing. It's one of the reasons why we're more prosperous now than we were in the 1970s. But as Seti kind of points out, then there's, you know, jobs like being a truck driver, which is not necessarily somebody's higher calling. And in this case here, sort of the inhuman work is being replaced by something that's not a human. And again, there's lots of questions in terms of how we address that social change. And this is one of the reasons why my answers on these things are sometimes very boring. Because again, what I'm doing in a lot of these cases are just simply measurement exercises. You know, all sorts of societies across the world have different programs in place or lacks of programs. And some of them do better than others. Like there's definitely no part of any of this discussion that says we should just sit down and see what happens. And it may be that, you know, if we haven't been able to properly organize things in such a way that there's a very large amount of sort of suffering that's being created by this, you know, it may be that we wind up having to, you know, I know a lot of people like talking about guaranteed income and stuff like that. But again, I also don't have as strong views on those. So during a particularly heated argument in council, you stepped in as Duke Alpert of Austria was making a fool of himself. You managed to soothe the debaters and win the argument for him, though this only infuriated him, as he wanted to win the argument by his own means. Throwing a tantrum like this has publicly shamed Alpert. So ingratitude is the world's reward. All right, let's take a look. I mean, the real shame here is that we could probably wrestle wrestle control of so much of this away from the French. You know what? I'm gonna go punch some Scotsmen for a little bit. I may come to regret this because they might just sort of turn around with a huge mercenary army over the mountains and absolutely crush me. Is she fighting any other wars? Yes. Okay, and he's joined up with King Grifo in East Francia. Interesting, we might actually be able to pull this out. So for those of you, if you're just joining in on the stream, one of the things that we've been trying to balance here are all of these wars going on at the moment. And part of this is because if we get them taken care of in time, I'm going to be able to steal the throne from King Lando. So it's hard to find the time, but whenever I can, I try to spend some time with my daughter Theodelina. She must be made to see how important family is and to honor and love her parents. Family first. Hey, Johnny Big Time, how are you doing? I asked you a question on Discord. I will ask it to you here again, but if you don't want to answer in public, don't feel that you need to. Who is your favorite president, if you have one? And Seti's got one more question. What's the most modern and complete growth model that you would suggest to look into? So this is a personal preference thing. So if you want the state of the art, anything, so in my own view, anything that accounts for political institutions. So that's definitely take a look at Acemoglu, Johnson, and Robinson. That's a proper academic paper. But if you read Acemoglu and Robinson, Why Nations Fail, that'll put you on a good one. If you want my favorite growth frameworks, I actually really like endogenous growth models, and that's what Paul Romer got his Nobel Prize for a little bit last month. So pretty much any endogenous growth theory. But I will say, like, if you are huge on... Oh, God. I completely forgot that this is... I completely forgot that this was a... I forgot that this was a territory that I held. If you really want to read a textbook, Daron Acemoglu has a textbook. Let me take a look. It's like, it's just hidden. It's like Introduction to Modern Growth Theory or something like that. It's by Princeton University Press. It's the best. It's great. It's got basically everything you need. I like it a lot, and it will give you basically all of the different models. But again, the important thing, it's always important to remember what the models are for. They're abstractions that will tell you about what's going on. In fact, two economists you may be interested in are Daron Acemoglu and Ufuk Assajeet. Please don't ask me to spell it, but he's at University of Chicago. Acemoglu's at MIT. Because they've actually done quite a bit in terms of some of this automation that we've been talking about. So I think those are some of the things that'll give you sort of a variety of content. So it's not just like, if you want something a little bit easier and would count as popular reading, Why Nations Fail is a great place to start, and I think it's a really good book. I also think it's a very enjoyable book to read. But on the other hand, if you are wanting to jump off the deep end, like, there is an endogenous growth theory book by Philip Aghion and Peter Howitt. It's a little old now, but it's not bad. But the Acemoglu one is kind of the latest, like, big one that's been done. So And as always, Seti, like, there's room for disagreement on some of this stuff. Like, that's why, honestly, the reason why econ is such an interesting subject to me is that it's like when stuff goes wrong is when you get to learn, it's when stuff is breaking and, like, things don't work out the way that you were planning that they become so much fun to work with. So it's good to, like, ask these kinds of questions of models and, like, is this assumption really worth, really worth dwelling on, and so on and so forth. So, all right, to the adept Gundol, neophyte, Gulliam is a greedy, slothful idiot who deserves none of the riches in his possession. What say you, brother? Shall we raid his laboratory and claim what should be ours? Why not? Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to betray my lawyer. This is a shame. I'm pretty sure I could recover Nice if I didn't have to deal with the raid. I actually lost quite a bit of money off of that. Peasants of Verona is starting to respect my rule again. I should never let my treasury go negative. I know, damn it. It was not hard to locate neophyte Gulheim's laboratory. Azam tells me as we enter the castle. While old Gulheim has no talent for keeping secrets, he does know how to hire proper guards. He continues, telling me about the obstacle ahead. You distract them, I will enter the laboratory. They're all attacking Lombardy because of the weak ruler and the small force that he has. So what I'm trying to do is protect my interests, and if we can close all of these wars within 6 years, I'm going to betray the king and take the kingdom for myself. I have no idea, nobody new type. I haven't been captured yet, so. Markovea Echthofen let everyone know about my plot to kill Baron Hilmagius a Vesti during a drunken stupor at the local tavern. I should never have included that drunken blabbermouth in a plot this delicate. My reputation is ruined, but it wasn't great to begin with. Yes, and welcome, nobody new type. You missed our further conversations on... Well, I did a really bad job of accounting for growth theory, but it is worth remembering that I do more of the, like, applied stuff. I don't come up with new theories, so... I've seen many foolish things during my days, but Azam's poor attempt at distraction might just take the prize. I am dumbstruck as he rattles the blade against the wall and begins to wail loudly. When the guard's footsteps draw near, I grab him and run. Really, a ghost! No one in their right mind would fall for that. There will be no second attempt tonight. Not in a long, long time. Okay, well, as long as you got the answers you were looking for, Seti, I appreciate that. So it looks like they're dealing with the host, which is not bad because that just means I might be able to grab Ferrara for myself. Looks like we'll stop these guys before they crush my home. I'm pretty sure we lose Nice before I can do anything good. This is not looking like it should. I'm crossing a river and going into mountains, so... If we can break this flank, this is good, but it's... The problem is my left-hand side might be... let's get you with a high intrigue. My liege, I'm pleased to report that your errant subject, Bishop Manso of Serraville, has converted to the Catholic faith. Praise God. Great. So that means I can start assigning people who like me more. Okay. I think we'll pull it off, but this is a lot closer than it needed. Yeah, we've broken their flanks. Hey, Issimans, how you doing? Okay, so the French got Nice. That's good news. We're in the green for most of these. The rebellion is not so great. And looks like we've got some fresh levies coming in. Okay, my liege is starting to show a little bit of a pulse. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clobber the Corsicans again. And we might, what I might do is I might reclaim Genoa just for, just to kind of really stick it to the Corsicans again. All right, so yeah, we definitely lost quite a bit fighting the raiders, but I definitely don't want. I mean, I've already got my capital on a big big negative for 2 years. So we'll do, yeah. I don't think there is any save scumming that you can do in this because it's on Iron Man. Let me take a quick second here while I'm waiting for the armies to move forward. We've got Johnny Big Time in chat. Johnny is one of my favorite casters on Twitch. No, he is my favorite caster on Twitch. He does a really good job of... So for those of you who do not like my more stately style or the fact that I will do a lot of... So like Johnny does a lot of back and forth with his audience, but he doesn't necessarily... he doesn't put the game on hold like I do. So if that's one thing that doesn't work for you, Johnny is great for that. He also tends to play a lot of very action-packed kind of games. In fact, you know what? I'll skip because we did a little bit of the talk on the growth stuff. I'll maybe save the Johnny clip for right now. But Johnny, oh sorry, request council support. Not in your life. He originally wanted to usurp my title, so I'm I'm surprised this guy isn't in the dungeons. But yeah, Johnny's been playing Call of Duty Black Ops 4 most recently. Does a great job with that game. I don't normally like watching Battle Royale sort of stuff, but Johnny really does keep things active and really fun to watch in that regard. He's also been doing a playthrough of The Witcher, and I know a lot of you guys at the end of Mass Effect said that that's something that you'd be interested in seeing me play. I have no idea where that's going to be because I've got a huge backlog of titles that I still need to cover. But Johnny has been kicking ass in it. So if you're looking for somebody a little bit more active, if you're looking for somebody much more personable, I definitely say Johnny is the #1 guy to watch. The thing that I love the most is that he's been able to play just about everything. So at some point he's going to do XCOM 2, and I will be so unimaginably happy on that day. But like I said, I mean, even in terms of the games that I was listing there, like everything from Call of Duty to Titanfall, so a little bit of a first-person feeling, but he did a great playthrough of Dragon Age. He's doing The Witcher now. He really just seems to have a knack for being able to find the fun in everything that he does, especially when he smack talks anybody who's either in chat or in the game when he is particularly irate. So definitely very strong recommendation. I think you guys will have a lot of fun if you haven't checked him out yet. Okay. Dear Gunold, this is the badass one-eyed Pope who apparently decided to become a Benedictine and so does not look quite as badass as he used to. I'd like to invite you to join me for a small gathering of friends to dine, drink, and forget about the world outside for a little while. Please be prepared to reserve a few days for this in case we truly get into the spirit of the proceedings. Of course I will come. I'm a drunkard. What else do we have here? 616 is also the name of the... Oh, okay, this is all Marvel. I don't know Marvel that well, but you know who does know Marvel well? Johnny Big Time. That's another reason you should follow him. Captain Shield popped into Johnny's stream briefly yesterday. Did you enjoy yourself? Am I a liar? What is the bus? I don't know. I might have missed something here. Nobody new type. All right, so this kind of sucks because we lost a county to the Corsicans. That means that their war score is going to go up a little bit. There's also a side of me that's sort of thinking is like, you know what, this is not my problem to deal with anymore. But the fact of the matter is that the sooner that these wars finish, then the sooner I can start plotting against my king. So. So we lost 7 guys. Johnny, could you please sell yourself to Captain Shield so that he can spend more than a few minutes in your chat next time? Okay, these are all weak claims, so they're not ones that I want to push for. The Corsicans really only have this war score because of occupation, I think. Won't be enough to finish the... It won't be enough to finish the war, but we can definitely improve things. What the ruler should be doing right now is dealing with this peasant revolt because he's about to lose it. But at this point, you know, the real problem here is if this winds up going free, I have a feeling that the Byzantines are going to gobble it up. I just like being a jerk. Captain Shield. Oh, you know what? The AI might be doing a wonderful thing in protecting my lands from Gunroder's host. And I'm also kind of curious what I need to continue this siege. Well, there's 6 defenders, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I can afford to split the army in half. Looks like they're heading to Salzburg, so good news for me. So I am kind of curious what the deal with this is. So, it's because the barbarians are taking East Francia, and my liege signed an alliance with them, so... As she's growing older, I can see that Theodelina could use some guidance in some of my more experienced areas. Yeah, but she's a woman. By the way, I did want to say a quick thank you to some of you. For those of you who didn't notice, there was that blog post that I put out about studio closure, the ones at systemshock.ca. Oh crap. They're almost certainly going to dump my steward. Okay, good news. Should also, let's just take a quick look here. Okay, I can live with most of this. I've arrived at the private rooms of Pope Honorius III. There's plenty of food and drink here, and the mood is decidedly merry. I am looking forward to this. But yeah, so for those of you who pay attention to this sort of thing, there's a blog that that I put out. Now, there's actually 2 specific people that I owe a very big thank you to, and that's Alexis Kennedy and Lottie Bevan of Weather Factory fame. I think it was Lottie that found it first. She had some very kind things. Bishop Manso has returned to my court and council. He is yet again able to carry out his duties as marshal. She had some very kind things to say on Twitter, and Alexis retweeted it out and also had some nice things to say. And I found out about it because WordPress gave me a push notification on my phone, which is basically, it's like, hey, is everything okay? People actually seem to be reading your blog now. So that particular article wound up traveling a lot further than it did, but they were not the only two responsible for that. I actually saw a few of you guys either read it when that came up in Cast on Friday, but a few of you also shared it because WordPress does give me a little bit of information along those lines. So for those of you who did so, thank you. I believe it is the most successful post that I've put out, and I'm particularly fond of it because the EA article got a second wind, so it could piss off a new batch of people who don't like EA. So thank you. And if you haven't read it, get on it. No. We're having a great time carousing. My comments say I should slow down on the drink, but that's all nonsense. I hope you liked it. If you didn't like it, sorry for wasting your time. Okay, so the only reason I'm doing these sieges, I mean, it does make me lose some troops, which is not great. The reveling and carousing is over. Time to get back to real life with some prestige in tow. So what I'm basically going to be running with here, I'm going to be doing my best to gobble up some of the war score that the Corsicans have got, and the main reason, again, that I'm focused on this particular issue is that I want to make sure that they are like done, because their claims are on 2 of the territories that I hold. Fate smiles on me, and my wife is pregnant. She doesn't like me very much. Oh, it's because I'm gluttonous, even though she is gluttonous herself. But yeah, so this is the one where I want to make sure, why the hell are they even trying? Just surrender. Like, don't. Yeah, I'm just a big succession of rulers whose wives hate them. I wish I had slightly better numbers to take on the host, but I think I need to exercise caution here. Make her a diplomat. And I think we can afford to boost things up a little. The other problem, too, is that for the longest time, I was losing money on all of this stuff, so I am very curious what'll happen when this finally tips over. My Chancellor has improved relations. Should probably be making some claims on territory soon, I think. Oh yeah, especially with Croatia being under siege. How about my assassination target? She hasn't had a kid yet. I have no idea what it's going to take to... Oh, thank God. Okay. My co-conspirator Marie Uanel Noglajic has let me know that Baron Hilgmas of Este will die by poisoned wine at an upcoming banquet. Classic. It's not a kid we're going to be killing anymore, but works all the same. How's the siege going? I don't think it'll give me any info on this. It'd be great if I could get just some big decisive strike against them. Alright. At age 18, my vassal Baron Hilgmas of Este has died under suspicious circumstances. Success! It seems the wine did not agree with Baron Hilgmas of Esti. He died not knowing the name of his killer. I think I will celebrate with beer. Johnny, if you're around, because I like pointing you out and asking you strange questions, what will it take to get you to play a Paradox game, particularly on stream? How much do I need to donate? Lollard Heresy has appeared in the County of Muslim Lollards. You getting good at one? I'll teach you Stellaris. I think you want to learn Stellaris on your own, though. Okay. Let's deal with this before it becomes a problem. Okay, so they did get independence. They don't want to be vassalized because of distance. So that tells me they're probably going to become... it tells me they're probably going to become a vassal of the Byzantine Empire before long. But that is a war that we can knock down. Not crazy about the heir dying, but on the other hand, I'm actually slightly curious. So I'm trying to figure out how this works. I gave him the title in Pax, and apparently that means that one of the titles within my kingdom passes away from it if that guy winds up dying. And of course he's in prison, so it's very likely that he's gonna die. So I would have thought that I should be able to ransom him. So, imprisoned by High Chief Farah. Yeah, he's got to do something. They definitely don't want him dying. Also, Johnny, were you good at The Witcher before you started playing it? Were you good at Dark Souls before you started playing it? Alright, we lost 3 people. Didn't get a ton of glory or anything like that from it, but... this is really just about taking territory back and getting that war score up so that we can send the Corsicans home. A son was born to Duke Gundold of Friuli and Duchess Baya of Friuli, named Gundold. Mini Gundold. You know, in fairness, though, if you guys have ever seen Johnny Big Time play games like that, he does actually kind of come off as a natural, so I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. So I can fabricate... What duchy is this? I mean, not bad. It's not very strong. Let's go for it. I can always switch it into something a little more exotic later. My court physician, Bishop Ivor, is worried about my newborn son. Gundold is a feeble little thing, even compared to other infants. Ivor says that he may not live to see his first birthday. Save my son. May your child be a masculine one. You really hated the first Kingdom Hearts. You played it all the way through, but you don't know. You never got into the second. I saw somebody play them, but I never got a chance to try them out myself. Then again, I'm not a big console gamer. I know I was talking about this last stream too. It's weird to reflect on the fact that, like, you know, I've only ever played games on desktop, but like the majority of gaming is done on like phones and consoles now, and like I don't know anything about how people play games is really the best way for me to put it. While little Gunnold appears slightly weaker than the other children his age, I swear that he is much more energetic than he was a couple of weeks ago. He may not be out of the woods quite yet, but the worst has passed. So he's still in a tough spot, but not... Alright, have a good one, Nobody New Type. Thanks a lot for stopping by. My zeal and religious beliefs have led me to become more respected and have given me more prestige. If only I had known sooner. Okay, we'll boost up the speed a bit. So I think the Bohemian conquest is a done deal at this point. During the last few days, my wife, Duchess Bea, has not been able to keep any drink or food down. It seems as if she is suffering from food poisoning. We'll call the king again. This is ridiculous, by the way. We're defending the guy's territory, and he's contributed absolutely nothing to it. So basically, the Lombard army has just been... Well, I mean... Given what they're up against, they're doing a very good job of pushing back the barbarians, but like we kind of have our own problems to be dealing with right now. Daughter was born, not a big deal for me right now. I only have 4 years to be able to wrap up these wars, and at age 23, my wife died after a disagreement with a meal, and the meal won. Alright, so I gotta marry somebody with a high stewardship, preferably young. 16 will do. But I'll probably get a... Yeah, I'm not getting a prestige minus. "13's too young. So is 12. Can we please just get adults? Whew. It's slim pickings. I'll have to live with it. It looks like I don't have anybody on side for this plot, unfortunately. Hey. At least there's one now. Yeah, but I play this game so that I can experience things that I don't in everyday life, so... to the glorious Duke Gunnold, blessings on you and your house. I accept the suggestion that the two get married. Great. And you'll notice that my domain is now no longer too big because she's a lady, so she's got to learn on her own. Alright. I am now going to chase down these Corsicans and get rid of them once and for all. There's got to be a way. I've taken this guy out. Okay, so there's not much that I can do at the moment. I'm going to dismiss these troops. Now, one nice thing is that if I want to cause some actually, you know what? Let's do my patriotic duty. We now have enough to take on the host, so this is going to be costly for me personally, but seeing as my my liege is otherwise occupied, I think we're gonna do our patriotic duty and take out. Hang on. It changed. It's hard to find the time, but whenever I can, I try to spend some time with my daughter. She must be made to see how important family is and to honor and love her parents. Still waiting for, I want everyone on board for this. And Theodolina has finished her education in diplomacy. It is evident that she has excelled in her studies. This pleases me. And Theodolina is very easily satisfied and is obviously lacking in ambition. Well, we'll make her charitable. So we'll marry her off. And we will turn her into a diplomat through etiquette. This is matrilineal marriage again. I want to. The bloodline is pretty safe now, but because we had those horrible castrations we needed to deal with earlier, I wanted to make sure that we're in good shape as far as people to hand titles to. How did I choose my name to be System Shock? Mostly just because of the game, System Shock 2. Alright, I mean, 169 is nothing to sneeze at, but let's drop the vassal levies. Hopefully they won't be too mad for long. To the kindly poet Gundold, peace be with you, please support me. Absolutely not. And we'll go to Ravenna to try and claim the land back. Unlike those downright pleasant castrations. I mean, it's a lot of fun when you're the one doing the castrating. While carrying out my duties for the Hermetic Society, I've met Initian Sebastianos on several occasions. These encounters have never ended well. One would be hard-pressed to find a more unsympathetic character. I suspect he's spreading lies behind my back to damage my reputation. I will confront Sebastianus and reveal his dishonest ways to the world. To Master Gundold, my brother, I have a proposal which might interest you. An old letter detailing the possible locations of some lost Hermetic writings came into my possession not many moons ago. If you fund an expedition, we can search for these treasures together. Let's accept. I have a feeling it won't be the Library of Alexandria again. The letter mentioned 3 lost texts: a tome of in a local antiquary, a scroll hidden in a church in Mantua, and a tablet in an ancient library ruins of Somerset and Wessex. The further we venture, the further we venture in distance as well as into the past, the greater secrets we might uncover. The choice is yours. So it's a little much to spend 100 gold on this. That's like half my treasury. Scroll in Mantua. Yeah, we'll go for the middle road. Okay, so Corsica is under heal again. Oh, actually that was Hildrek, so I could have given him something. I don't have much hope of being able to pull off this fabrication, but you never know. Oh my god, more revolts. That's a pretty strong one too. So I would love to like run away from this and go and punch this guy, but I'm going to siege it down and then punch this guy. In 3 years. Fate smiles on me. I have boned my wife. I will say, given this guy's preferences, he has been doing the Lord's work as far as taking care of the bloodline is concerned. The bribe we offered the priest of Mantua was enough to make him unlock the inner chambers of the church. We examined every nook and cranny for clues of the scroll's hiding place. On the 5th day, one of the servants announced that they had found a hidden chamber. We have found it, Initiate Ivor. So we gain 200 esoteric knowledge, and we gain the points for the trouble. See, one of the things that sucks here, I am really tempted to... Oop. Looks like these guys are already getting punched. I want to contribute, though. Haha! We did it ourselves! Looks like he's got more guys coming. Actually, that looks like a lot more guys. Nope. She's a lady. Let's take a quick second and look at my existing holdings. So, if it's anything income producing, I'll spend the money on it. Yeah, I'll go for it. So nice that my liege is finally doing his work and actually liberating some of these provinces. So it looks like he's going to get away in time, so... Hey, Joshy man. As soon as the wars are done, that is my full intention. But it's a little tricky. You're not allowed to betray your king while you're at war, unfortunately. How many hosts are there? So it looks like Capua is gonna gain its independence unless something dramatic happens. Family first. How have you been? It feels like it's been a while. My son was born Theodclap. Ooh, twins. Young Arona has finished her education in the ways of war. It seems that she's learned all the basic skills required. And she can have a matrilineal marriage. It's because she was brawny. Alright. I am slightly curious why there are so many guys. Yeah, this is still my best composition, but this is going to be costlier than I thought it would be. Oop. Alright. I'm definitely happy to chase the weaker group out. Alright, dear Gundold, please continue to indulge your alcoholism. Been pretty good. Work is getting busy, but it's normal for retail to be like that at this time of year. Oh, I'll bet. Set up our Christmas tree tent last week and blew it down into tornado warning a few days later. That's really funny. I didn't know that there were tornadoes in this part of Canada, but we had a tornado not too long ago, which kept me from streaming. All right, let's make her a diplomat as well. I basically make all of the daughters diplomats, just I'm assuming it's a little easier to marry them off that way. Okay, what's the next? Alright, I don't want any part of that. Onsbrook. Oh my god, so these are all of these extra wars are ones that Francia brought us into. Absolutely ridiculous. So I would be taking over the kingdom right now if it wasn't for this. Well, you know what? We're standing down so I can make some money. Oh yeah, my priest is wasting his time right now. Let's hunt Apostates because I've already converted the bad bishop. Moving right along. Oh, initiate Sebastianos is a greedy, slothful idiot. Oh, I hate him. Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that. In fact, while I'm at it, let's take a quick second and acquire some ingredients. Hopefully I'll be able to brew a potion off of that. I heard about the madwoman who tries to blackmail Count Theodo before my friend Count Theodo came to me and asked for help. Count Theodo isn't known for his diplomacy, and as desperate as he is, it is even more likely that he would handle this situation with less tact than needed. So I can help him out. Don't get me involved with that madwoman, and the blackmailer's mad if you want my help. I think I want payment. My liege apparently could use... Yeah, I do not want... As he's growing older, I can see that Lando could use some guidance in my more experienced areas. I can make him ambitious and hate me for the time that he's ready to become king. Yeah, he's learning on his own. I want to take the kingdom from him. Although he's got a pretty healthy army now. It was hard not to locate Initiate Sebastianos' laboratory. Ivor tells me that we... Okay. I have a way with people in a heavy purse. It's purely because I hate this guy. I wouldn't spend the money otherwise. Young Landis seems to be quick to praise the deeds of others around him while neglecting his own physical activity and development. I'm just trying to think, do I want him to be... If I can't take the kingdom from him, do I want him to be weak? Not really, so we'll make him kind. I agreed to help Count Theodo with his lunatic extortionist if I was paid for my help, and I had already figured out a plan when Count Theodo told me whether or not my help was wanted enough for getting my demands fulfilled. I've gotten the money, now is here what I shall do. It's only 4 gold. As we step out of the shadows, the guards draw their blades. Their posture and faces change as I pull a heavy purse from my pocket. After a short exchange of words and coins, Adept Ivor and I enter through the heavy door. What now, brother? What course of action would you recommend? So... If you focus on destruction, I will search for items of value. Is it too early to call me Lord System Shock? I'm a duke. I will accept that. Bishop Ivor and I arrived in the hills early in the morning to collect various useful herbs that we could find in the countryside. I've arrived in the private rooms of Pope Honorius III. There is plenty of food and drink here, and the mood is decidedly merry. I'm looking forward to this. Let's get started. As she's growing older, I can... Nope, she's a woman. For all his talk and boasting, I expected more than this, or perhaps, Initiate Sebastianos is more paranoid than I thought. In any case, I cannot find anything of great value. At least these nuggets of metal will sell for a few coins. It's better than nothing, I guess. So 10 and 200 esoteric knowledge. Young Almafrida is very easily satisfied and obviously lacking in ambition. I can make her more charitable, or she can only be herself. Content will be lower, intrigue for higher monthly piety, and she doesn't have a husband yet. I'm gonna marry her off to the king. Suggested to Pope Honorius that we bring out the board in pieces to play and see who is the better strategist. He accepted, insisting that we play for honor. Very well, let's play. We played for hours, the tides of fortune ebbing and flowing as I tried to attack my opponent's positions without opening my defense too much. Eventually, however, I made the fatal mistake that my opponent exploited, and I lost the game. I'll get you next time. I follow the trail of overturned chests and broken vials until I find Adept Ivor. I gesture for him to come with me. It is time to go. He stuffs his pockets with a few nearby tools before running after me. So, what's my share of the spoils? I'm tempted to try and make some claims on this territory here before the Byzantine Empire gobbles it all up. The most excellent Duke Gundold, may you live in harmony and contentment. I've decided to accept your suggestion of a betrothal between Almafreda and King Lando. Also, while I'm at it, let's lock in a betrothal to you. And reveling and carousing is over. Time to go back to real life. Obviously here I'm setting myself up for some improvements. Theodicus accepted. King Lando of Lombardy's peace offer to the most excellent Duke Gundold. Peace be with you. I've decided to accept your suggestion. Cool. So that's the two people who will potentially inherit the kingdom. Young Hildrick has finished his education in diplomacy. It seems he has learned all the basic skills required. Very good. And young Hildrick is developing a kind disposition towards others. So I can either make him more charitable, or I can make him be himself. Bonuses to diplomacy. I don't think those are his real stats, but I'll say more charitable just because if he loses any more intrigue, that's going to be a problem. Nope, he became kind anyway. Duke Gundold of Fruli has fulfilled the ambition to groom an heir. Excellent. Okay, so let's take a quick reflection of where we're at. The 5K is definitely a big worry now. Mind you, it's because he's hired them, so that may give me a little more hope once he drops them down. But we're running out of time to be able to claim the kingdom, and these wars are still probably going to be going for a while longer. I wonder if there's something I can do in the council to try and... Speaking of, maybe there's something I can do in my own... Not really. The real problem here is... I don't think he's getting out of this dungeon anytime soon. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, here's what I'm gonna do. We've now spent days looking high and low for useful herbs. With both me and Bishop Ivor exhausted, we were forced to conclude that the small assortment of interesting plants is all that we're getting out of this. Okay, so once we've left the laboratory far behind us, Ivor and I collapsed, two bundles of sweaty and shivering limbs. We did it! We really did it! We got away with it, too. As a laugh erupts from my lips, my body finally relaxes. Next to me, Ivor, heavy breathing, turns into a merry chuckle. We really showed him, didn't we? So we've completed the mission, infiltrate the laboratory of Initiate Sebastianos, and my opinion has changed, or his opinion of me has changed. I forgot, yes, we did do the assassination that we needed, so with that in mind, I should be getting my Spy Master scheming instead. So we're basically going to be sieging our own holdings here, but how dark is the dungeon? We'll see. Hopefully we'll be letting some daylight in there pretty soon. Oh, no, we need to be claiming the Verona holdings first. Ah, it's because, so I definitely need to be very careful, otherwise I can easily lose this. So we're slowly gaining people, but I don't think we're going to have enough. Maybe if I bribe this mayor. What have I got? I've got 64. It'll cost me 25. I think I'll give it a shot. So if I get one more plot backer, I get it for sure. I definitely think that's worth it. I completely forgot to do the ambition. Okay, so I can try to become the King of Lombardy. I can try to acquire a title, or I can try and gain land for an unlanded son. I think in this case I'm going to try and get the title from my liege, because my liege likes me. So it'll be, I think it'll be like a nice second, kind of a secondary position. So the idea here is I'm going to siege down the holding in Verona, and then we're going to go crashing straight into these holdings. I'm going to try and take his capital on the odd chance that it gives me my prisoner back. Sure, I forgot about my promise to take Ansignis riding, but now she poured water on me when I was resting. I had only a little bit to drink. And I'm the Duke. Sorry, I did not pay attention. I'll show her. I have a bad headache, and my episode is slowly coming back to me. There's no excuse for my behavior. What's worse is that I even got lectured by a child. Okay, somebody just took Modena. My Chancellor has improved relations. Duke Lambert of Modena has... Ah, this guy is such a troublemaker. Okay, we're gonna find something to do with him. So I think the plan here is going to be, I'm still making some money, so we'll clobber him here, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split my my army up. So his personal holdings, we're definitely taking this one. Okay, that's unfortunate that he's going the opposite direction, because that means I'm gonna have to chase him later. But I think the plan here, if I can cut this army into 4, then I'm going to just take all of his territory. But I may not be able to do that. In the meantime, there was another action I was going to take. So I can either try to improve my stewardship, but I think I want to go for theology, and the main reason for that is I have my society, and I believe I get a bonus to the esoteric knowledge that I gain based on my learning. So I won't go full scholarship. I do want the bonus to health, but and apparently my my apprentice is actually higher ranked. Oh, that's not true, actually. Your dedication to religious pursuits has been noticed around the realm. Among others, you have quite impressed Bishop Manso of Saravel. You have maintained correspondence on various religious and philosophical matters for some time, and you find that you are rapidly becoming good friends. Our common interests bind us together. Good news there. That means I've got more of that church money coming into my coffers. Not quite ready for a pilgrimage because I'm not at peace. Now I think the theorem paper will cost a little too much for me, but what about a book? Don't have the money. I don't think I'm ready to do the theorem paper yet, as much as I'd like to. Okay, so split it up. Okay, she doesn't have a husband yet. She's depressed, unfortunately, so let's try and find somebody to... The Duke of Austria. But it's already Lombard territory, so... Now, unfortunately, that doesn't give me the... Well, we'll go for it. Alright, that's not quite enough to seal the deal, so... Okay, good news about the castle town. Obviously I spent a bit of money on that, but it's... God, it's really tempting to just run in and take these guys out, but I do want to siege down at least his personal holdings to see if I can free a prisoner. During a particularly heated argument in the council, you stepped in as Duke Hildeprand the Fat was making a fool of himself. You managed to soothe the debaters and win the arguments for them. This turned out to be a great move on your part, as he now feels indebted to you. Now, if I could use that favor to... Let's do improved keeps first. I could use that favor to get him to support me for the kingdom. So much the better. I think I'll probably just bribe... Holy smokes. I'll probably just bribe someone to get that last point. Okay, so... The conquest of Friuli. So unfortunately, this means that I have to face down the 3,000 angry soldiers in my home territory. Where is the king? So we're basically just taking everything from him. And in this case, I'm actually going to split the army in half. It's mostly just because I want to make sure that I have a proper welcoming party for him. So he's heading down here. I'll get a penalty, but I can live with that. We're almost 3 times his size. During the last few days, my daughter Theodolina has not been able to keep any drink or food down. It seems that she is suffering from food poisoning. Call the court physician at once. We need to keep producing the babies. Okay, now, unfortunately, he is rocking my holdings, and he's basically just gobbling everything up as fast as he possibly can. I really want these extra 445 troops, but the problem is if I do that, I'm not going to be able to get the troops that are here, so... We'll finish the fight that we have right now. I am actually going to finish sieging down these territories. And I might hire mercenaries. Alright, my favorite pope has died. I lost a good friend. Got 5,000 troop strength, just nowhere where we actually need it. So I'm just going to wait for this last one here, and then we'll... Alright, so he became old enough. In this case, I will ask for the time. Well, hang on. What does he think of me? I mean, he doesn't think that highly of me, to be honest. Alright, Duke Gundolda Fruli has usurped the title barony of Montecchio. We won... Okay, so my demesne's too big. In this case, I'm going to make sure that Hildrek is going to get the title. It would be kind of cool... This is a little tricky, actually, because it would be ideal if I can hold titles sort of within... Yeah, I'm still gonna... I'll give him just this barony to begin with. Okay. So I either need to hire mercenaries, or I need help from the king. Almafrida has finished her education in diplomacy. It is evident that she has excelled in her studies. This pleases me. So she now marries the king, which is good news because... Except, this will hopefully make him more favorably disposed to me. Yes, so now is a good time to ask for the title, I think. My dear friend and vassal, you are the bedrock of loyalty, the cornerstone of the realm. Truly there is support for your claim in the Bible. I know that God will reward you in time. My liege is wise. Okay. So they lost only 36 people to take Padova. Hey, Green Whisper, sorry, I missed your messages. Just checking in before you go to bed. You got a 60-hour work week. My God. What are you doing? I'm sorry to hear about that, and I'm glad that you're feeling a little bit better. But that still sounds like a really tough work schedule to go through. So I do wish you the best. Note to self: have lots of daughters so you can marry them off to gain favor for yourself. I mean, have you not watched Game of Thrones? Okay, Raiders of Gorm's Host. I'm going to move to Treviso, but I'm really curious what Bori's Host winds up doing. So it does look like the Lombard King. Absolutely not. Obviously, defending my honored adept Gundold, I hereby grant you permission to advance to the next rank within the Hermetic Society. This is my privilege. I wonder if I can do the Magnum Opus yet. Okay, so we defended ourselves. Unfortunately, it looks like... Oh, that's right, because the badass Pope was not on side. Okay. So... that's now 2 territories that we've lost. Looks like my liege is on his way, so we'll go as 1. I'm gonna auto balance this. We'll make sure that our best general is in the center. Okay, so good news there. I am going to siege back my territory. Yet another morning when I wake up feeling as tired as I was when I went to bed. I should do something about my listless mind. Perhaps I need to spend some time alone. I'll get over it eventually. I'm sure this will have negative effects on my health, but... My friend Theodo has invited me to a grand banquet. Why bother? I will reluctantly tend. Lots of people, lots of food. Good. Oh my god, Green Whisper. This is the pizza place, right? Okay, so 22 for this bishop. 39. I'm just trying to find the least expensive bribe. You know what? He's cheap, and he's effective. Come on, you can do it. With the aid of your fellow conspirators, you've managed to fabricate a claim on the Duchy of Carinthia. So... this should be pretty straightforward for me to finish. Duke Gunald of Friuli successfully succeeded with the plot to fabricate a claim on the Duchy of Carinthia. My dear cousin and brother in the Hermetic Order, Ivor, has stepped forth with an idea for a ritual that might invoke the presence of a divine being. The prospect of petitioning the divine itself for knowledge is tantalizing, and the idea was therefore received with excitement by the Order. The ritual will take place in a few weeks' time. So the secrets of the world will be laid bare to us. I have some interesting flasks that could aid us. Yep, let's do that. I'll press the claim as soon as I can, but there's a couple of other things I should keep in mind. Gonna go steal some more stuff. I'm a little worried. Apparently everything just went really muffled. Alright. Summoning the Divine. The time for the ritual has come, and your order is congregated in a spacious room. Symbols scatter the floor as you chant your hymns. Adept Ivor has provided you with a new special type of incense that he claims is necessary to make the eventual connection with the Divine Being. Before long, it has permeated the air, and as you inhale more and more of it, hearing the drone of your fellows' chants, you feel your soul disconnect from your body and begin to ascend, until it seems to connect with something. An entity touches your soul, though you cannot perceive it with any senses other than your mind's eye. It must be the Divine Being. You've succeeded! You struggle to control your emotions and to coalesce your thoughts into one burning question that you can pose to this being. So we can say the operation of the sun, the stars, the gods, or, O Divine, please tell me of the secrets hidden throughout the world. Let's hear the operations of the gods. It was not hard to locate neophytes. I don't want to spend that, so you distract them, I will enter the laboratory. Okay, victory. I believe... Where's my claim? So I can't declare war because, yeah, my levies are up, so we'll drop those. Definitely not strong enough, so we will claim it. And in this case, I'm not going to raise the vassal levies just because why bother, right? I had my doubts, but colored me impressed. Ivor managed to lure the guards away by setting off an alchemical reaction, producing the foulest of odors. While the trick was effective, to say the least, I do not know how much time I have. I need to focus. What should I do next? I shall steal Inokentos' rarest ingredients and most secret tomes. In my trance, the Divine Being tells me the great truths that we have been hidden from man, of alchemy and astrology, of the will of the gods and the ciphers to ancient texts, and even things that have not yet come to pass. Once my soul returns to my body, I see the world with new eyes. It's an epiphany! 100 prestige. I gain the Divine Epiphany for 10 years, plus 2 to all my stats, and 100 esoteric knowledge. So Siam, this one truly was too good to be true. It isn't always good, but this one did turn out. And welcome, by the way. The system shock started at the beginning. I was hungry. And there's a decent enough pizza place nearby, so my hands are deep. Oh my god. My hands are deep in one of Inokenetius's big ingredient chests when a door opens behind me. I whirl around to find myself staring into the panicked eyes of Ivor. A split second later, I notice the guards holding him. Run, he shouts, but it is too late. Release me. I am a colleague of your master. Ooh. I hope he doesn't castrate me. I was only kidding. My magnificent cat curled up in its favorite spot by the window last night, and I think now that maybe it knew I did not have long left in this world. At least it went peacefully. The funeral shall be set in the garden where it loved to play, or I shall invite the whole court to celebrate the adventurous life of my cat. Whenever you stroll by the rose bushes, you shall remember your cat. All right. So Alpert will be... See, I really do want somebody friendly, but I am going to have to make Alpert the new one. Okay, so... I need 145 to ransom myself, and this guy can chop off my balls. Hey, Melemony, my cat just died. And I'm in prison. Alright, Green Whisper, thank you very much for stopping by. I'm glad you did. I've reached the point where I am willingly to shamelessly beg for water when the guards drag me from my cell. I must have fainted. The next thing I see is Inokento's scornful face. Well, well, well. My guards have caught one laughable crook indeed. I just want to have a look at you before they throw away the key. Mercy, mercy, I can't return to that place. I could borrow the money. I deserve better than to rot in this dank dungeon. I should ask Bishop Inokentos for accommodations suitable to my rank. Oh, God. Cruel Bishop Inokentos decided I should be forgotten in the oubliette. This is the end of me. God have mercy. Diplomacy -20, health -2. Okay. And I can't borrow because I am a prisoner. Let's see if there's another thing I can do. Oh yeah, they totally did. That's what the oubliette is. Oublier is forget in French. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to get an army there. Okay, this is going to be tricky. Where's the Lombard army? Nowhere near where it needs to be, and this is way too strong for me to handle. Alright, you have a new heir. If your character dies, you will now play as Baron Hilderek of Monticchio. Duke Gundold has given up the ghost, age 43. He died in the dungeons of Bishop Inokentos of Agrigenton. Well known to be charitable, he freely gave money to his friends and family. A godly man, Gundold is with the Blessed Virgin now. That's a very unfortunate ending, because that was a really good character. He had lots of abilities and such, but obviously I gave up the ingredients that I needed to be able to do the task. Anyway. So, Duke Adamero, being both thrifty and frugal, the realm will surely prosper under his rule. So be it. Okay. So. I can actually afford to have lots of holdings, which is good. I'm still short on manpower, though. So far am I in my society. I need at least one good one, even if they don't like me. I don't know. I mean, I actually know of one kind of cheap way to be able to sort of like redo events. But I mean, the fun of the game is you never quite know what's going to happen. So, oh man, why does this guy hate me so much? So I'll just roll with it. It's unfortunate. Like it's not a fun way to go, but it's fine. I am, on the other hand, a little unsure what I'm going to do about Bori's Host. Ah, yes, I can also rank up in the Benedictine Order. Okay, let's see. I really don't have much as far as stats go. I'm trying to groom an heir right now, so... How old's my wife? 30. You better get on that, son. We'll make him a family man for now, but I want to switch to theology as soon as I can. I got captured because I tried to rob the guy's sort of laboratory, and then I asked to be put into better accommodations. At which point he quite literally locked me up and threw away the key. He put me in the oubliette. So. Honor Donatus Adamero, I hereby grant you permission to advance to the next rank within the Benedictine Order. Signed, Conversus David. It's my privilege. It'd be really interesting if there were more consequences within the society if you did that to high-ranking members. What would be a fun way to go? I mean, Ovid had some ideas in terms of the best way to go. Okay, so I can imprison the former wife of my... Fate smiles on me, my wife, Rosamund, is pregnant. So he's gregarious, zealous, just... I mean, he's not terrible, but there are definitely some things that could make him a little bit better. Okay, progress continues on this campaign, not so good in Treviso, though. I'm also slightly curious, so it looks like the Lombard army is just going to be completely occupied, so I'm probably going to need to hire some mercenaries to deal with these guys. Oh, that's a shame. So I didn't realize that I had a claim on Corsica. Cleansing through fire. During a discussion with some fellow lay members of the Benedictine Order, I mentioned the dusty old tomes I store in the Library of Verona. Most of the content is hardly intelligible, I scoff. The eyes of my peers widen. One should not take the writings of Lucifer so lightly, my lord. You misunderstand. I'm getting rid of the book tonight. Oh my god. No, we're not burning. We're not burning my... That all sounds a bit excessive. I am not destroying the magnum opus. Johnny Big Time, you tie a fishing wire around your neck, then you super glue... I know where this is going. You super glue your hands to your head, you jump off a building having ties to the fishing wire off the other end, and when people find you, it looked like you tore off your own head off. Bam. God's blessing upon thee, Oblatus Edimero. The Benedictine Order is in need of more funds to maintain charitable functions. We hope you are able to spare some of your worldly wealth to help us on a holy mission. How much? $100! Alright. God's blessing upon thee, Ablatus Adamero. The Benedictine Order has received your graciously donated gifts. You have our thanks, in addition to those whose lives will be greatly improved by your charity. I only did my duty, conversus. So the challenge here is that I'm not going to be able to hire mercenaries now. To the just Duke Adamero, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I would like to give you a seat on my council and offer you the title of Marshal. I accept. All right. We'll see what Genoa wants. Oof, that's a lot of money. Okay, so that's an extra duchy for me. Duke Adamero of Friuli has usurped the title of the Duchy of Carinthia from Countess Guntrude of Karen. And I can press de jure ducal claims. So Istria and... So I believe this is the wealthier of the two. And then... This is obviously Byzantine territory, and it's owned by the Basileus, so I had better be damn sure I'm ready to claim it. Now this is just going to be a big old pain in the ass, because he's like, there's no way I can unite my units like this. I'm bringing Walreda to the local monastery today, where she meets with many of the brothers and sisters doing penance who greet her politely. As we leave the monastery, my kinswoman says, "Go with God" to all those who meet today. I am very proud of her attitude in the ways of Saint Benedict. She's an excellent student. All right. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to deal with Bori's host here. Because I'm pretty sure if I just throw these guys in, they will get clobbered. My vassals aren't going to help. And my liege is not strong. Okay, so clearly I lose this holding, or I deal with this myself. So because I don't want to lose the holding, we're going to go for some premium mercenaries. So 1800 to my 1600. Split the difference for the 175. Now, honestly, for the 5 gold, I'd rather have the extra. I always hate paying this off, but of course they're split like this. All right. So obviously I'm going to wait until the morale is up. Probably going to lose the holding, but so they will arrive on the 1st of August. They will arrive on the 4th of August, so I'm going to wait a couple of days. Yeah, we lost it. Now they both arrive on the same day. I mean, it's still an even fight. Eltabar was captured in battle and is now my prisoner. Daughter was born to Duke Adamero of Friuli and Duchess Rosamund of Friuli, named Theodorana. And hey, and a son. Twins again. You know, in this case, as much as I want to get my territory back, I think in this case I'm actually going to chase them down and not let them recover any of their health. Got to be careful though, because if Poland gets too strong, then I'm in trouble. Yeah, you know what? They're gonna get their morale back. So one day as I'm sitting with my courtier Archegane, I decide that I should show her an extract from the Rule of Saint Benedict in hopes of teaching her the ways of God. She's very attentive, and I am sure that she will grow up to join me in the Benedictine order. They let women join? Alright, I should have committed to the recovery of my lands. I'm still slightly annoyed that I lost my cool alchemist character in such a disgraceful way. Slightly tax-focused burgher obligations law. All that you need is the support of yourself and I will say yes, because that will mean fewer levies for the king when I make my move. Okay, so it looks like he's coming back. Ooh. And he is reinforcing at a rate that actually causes me some worry. I think we'll still win with the numbers, but I've been spending more time with my wife Rosamund lately, and through the though of course we did not marry for love, I can tell that it's growing between us. Okay, so he's on his way to Verona. I think in this case I'm going to do the same. Scared? This is not going to end well for me. Oh, we've had that before with wives who hated me. But as it is, she's got 84. So love, lover, designated regent. It's clearly because I gave her the title. Okay, childhood focus. Let's give him duty just because he may eventually become the ruler. And it's going to become unaffordable to maintain these mercenaries, so we'll drop them and we'll worry about reclaiming my territory at this point. Oh, looks like it's back. So of course there's a dilemma here, right? They've got 2,400 strength and they do generate a lot of troops quite quickly. But I did borrow in order to achieve, let's go for Majesty just so I can get the bonus prestige. As the farmers prepare for sowing their spring crops, your court chaplain suggests that you bring out the holy relic in your possession and bless the fields. Surely this would increase the likelihood of a bountiful harvest this year. Yes, it will bless the land and pacify the peasants. And Istra. So they do have some strength. I think I'm actually gonna sit on this for a little bit because I should make sure that actually speaking of which. Yes, we are training troops. Okay. I do want to make the move on Istra, but in this case, the numbers are not quite favorable to me, so I'll teach her etiquette. Let's just take a quick minute in the family tree, and where was he? It was Gundold. Properly married. We'll leave that for now. Being on your liege's council is not always easy. You have a huge amount of work that needs attention, and there is so much to do. The list seems endless. Just as you're about to give up, Duke Lambert IV, this son of a bitch, steps through the door and asks if you want any help. As tempting as it may be, you know you'd be in his debt for it. I will take the debt. To the glorious Duke Adamero, blessings on you and your house. I've decided to accept your suggestion of a betrothal between Matasuntha and Du Philotheos. Holy smokes, these guys came back with a vengeance. Where did the... Yeah, I hope they do their job. Okay. Following truces are expiring. Okay, well, I mean, he can live with it. I just don't have the numbers to deal with these guys right now. I still think it was the right call to cut off the mercenary costs, but what the hell is my king doing? One day as I'm sitting with my kinsman Gundold, I decide that I should show him an extract from the Rule of St. Benedict in hopes of teaching him the way of God. He's very attentive, and I am sure he will grow up to join me in the Benedictine order. I could hear someone sneaking around inside, and I believed what I believed to be a burglar. When I went downstairs, I discovered that Matasuntha was opening one of my letters. So she could use some practice reading. Well, I mean, there's an easy way of getting out of the debt, right? I'm hoping this inspires my liege to take action. Like, I have no idea what's going on with his forces. Okay, well, I gotta do something about these guys, so let's raise... I gotta raise specific levies, so I want to raise the Treviso levy. Oh, god damn it, I never remember how to do this on an individual county. There we go. Oh, wow. Is that really all I've got? Hit control, raising it. Okay, avoid raising where there are hostile armies. gotta raise the vassals too. Obviously, once those are done, I'm going to move into to deal with the host, and we'll raise the levies inside there as well. Thing is, these guys I don't think are very good at fighting, but that doesn't mean that I won't get clobbered by numbers. So these guys will be able to handle. Only 1,700. Jesus Christ. I might actually have to hire another. Oh God! You know what? This is also his. This is his war goal. Oh wait, no. His war goal is the duchy. So. Okay, she doesn't want to become a diplomat. We'll make her marshal then. $1,600 versus 38. Jesus. Ugh. I wish my liege actually cared about my holdings. If nothing else, if we could just get this, if we could just get the conquest over and done with. I should drop the vassal levies. Bringing the true faith and salvation to others is among the holiest of duties. Therefore, we ask you to construct a new church in your land so your subjects may have somewhere to say prayers and worship. Not happening. At 66, my father-in-law, Walchus Geistlingberger, died. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to deal with this, to be honest. If I don't have my liege to back me up on this, it's no good. Young Walreda never stops eating, always staying longer than anyone else at the table. You should get out more and talk to people. Fortunately, this war is almost done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of a game of chicken here. I'm going to keep these levies up. I'm going to assume that this war gets lost before anything else. And once this war gets lost, my king is going to refocus his attention on my stuff. Swedish Chef, I have a lot of favorite Muppet characters, but the Swedish Chef is everything that is good in this world. Your vassal Countess Gertrude has expressed her dissatisfaction with your choice of advisors. She claims that she is much more qualified than the majority of your council and that she would make an excellent chancellor. She would be a controversial choice, however. So she is 14, my existing chancellor. Nope. How dare you suggest something so inappropriate? Let's take a look at what some of my other plots can be. It's gonna be a while before I can do anything about that. Okay, so that war's done. I'm gonna start taking my titles back. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I'm just gonna start taking my titles back. She said her favorite toy is missing and she won't go to bed without it. I may have thrown it out today when I was tidying up. Guess I'll have to go find it. I found the toy that she was crying about after going through the trash, but now she's not satisfied because it smells. It stinks. Okay, let's teach you duty because you're a boy, and we'll also teach you duty because you're a boy. So I guess my king just doesn't care about this invasion. Oh no, he cares about the other invasion. I can live with that. Laying waste to the Verona castle wasn't enough for the underhanded Bori. His troops also managed to steal one of my prized possessions. Oh no! Captain Shield, so my character, so I was, okay, so losing that really awesome, what was it? So like losing the really awesome, Society of Hermes character was one thing, because I was hoping to get him to write another magnum opus. What's happened now is the original magnum opus that I wrote has now been taken by the has now actually been taken by the invader. I have a feeling that I've lost that forever, basically. So not my favorite memory, let's say. This has definitely been a fairly difficult run as far as the events are concerned. Oh no. No, he's not even gonna go after the... What a coward. And by the way, notice how much the score has swung. Sorry if I scared you, Melemony. I really am a nice person until you get to know me. Hey, Kintara! So in the worst case scenario, like, I can save the kingdom by, I can save it by, hiring mercenaries. The thing is, I don't feel like I should have to. I've already got the mercenaries, and this guy's sitting on 4K strength in terms of soldiers. So the only reason this is happening is because the king is not doing his bit in terms of defending the realm. It feels so quiet now. According to Chancellor Marquard, the presidents of Aquileia have started a delightful tradition where the peasantry from several villages meet up and dance, feast, and pair up for future marriage. By promoting this tradition, Marquard believes that the county will develop a strong local culture that will attract more peasants. A peculiar tradition. I support it. Okay, I think there's no avoiding this. I think we're gonna... Fate smiles on me. I had sex with my wife. Okay, no, you need to... You've got the power. You can... Wow, he's really not committing to this. That's horrifying. No, the anti-pope died some time ago, actually. Son was born to Nicholas Garodebin, and I'm really not good at the names. So yeah, I got nothing I can do to tell the AI, hey, you're strong enough to take this guy on. Can we maybe stop having all of my cities raided? The big thing on this is that I don't actually see a way that we win this race. Like, I have a feeling that he's going to be able to siege everything down faster than we can recover it. Nice treasure. Ah, here we go. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Hey, the Eyes of Sin, thank you very much for the host. I should just warn you, I'm actually at the, I'm at the end of the stream, basically. I'll see if we... Okay. So... The war is done, and my friggin... So the magnum opus has just vanished. Hello. Joshy man, thank you very much. 1 year subscribing to this absolute disgrace of a channel. Thank you. It won't even have the decency to let me bring down my... well, it was just a book. We'll write a better one. My character's not smart enough to write another one. Son was born to Duke Adamero of Friuli and Duchess Rosamund of Friuli, named Baron. I mean, at the very least, if I knew I was going to lose it, I could at least have burned it to impress all the other monks. Kentara, thank you very much for that sub as well. All right, do I have enough to take Istra? If I take Istra, at least that'll solve my wounds. No, I don't. Guys, I'm gonna feel really bad about it. I was actually legitimately planning on finishing the stream after that bombshell. And I feel I feel kind of bad if I wind up if I wind up taking the money and running. But it is kind of a natural breaking point. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll do a quick review of... So I won't review what happened because we'll save that for the Chronicle. But we'll talk about sort of my immediate plans. So, I mean, we did have some legitimate problems. I didn't know that you could get captured on that society mission. That was a bit of a bummer, I will admit, because it feels like obviously being imprisoned is a problem, and for, you know, 145 wealth, I mean, one drawback was I wasn't able to like spend the money to or to borrow the money to get the to pay the ransom. So it was really on me that I asked for better accommodations, because that basically was a death sentence for my character. But that definitely feels like a very harsh penalty for basically just stealing someone's stuff. Oh god, I don't want to see I don't want to see these clips. But, you know, that's learning. You know, that was a cool character who had an unfortunate end. Losing the magnum opus to a king that's just not willing to defend the realm is a kick in the nuts for sure. Obviously, I did want to take the kingdom away from him. You know, that... It's a shame that didn't turn out, but it's not, like, the end of the world either. I'm gonna arrange a quick patrol duel. He's 2, she's 3, perfect match. But yeah, I don't know. That's what makes Crusader Kings interesting. You know, you have highs, you have lows. Not everything goes the way that you want. We'll get our chance. One day we shall rule the world. Well, some part of the land. Missing Stellaris yet? I really am, Belemony. I am looking forward to playing with you guys again. Other than, I do know that it winds up being really, really late. Other than that, that's the only thing that's kept me from really playing to the hilt. Anyway, so future plans. I do have a duchy. So I can make claims on Istra as well as Cartagen. Neither of these are... Ooh, actually... I could basically take this. Oh, he's not independent. Why can't I declare? I see. Okay, so I could spend a bunch of prestige to claim the 2 here. Alternatively, I just do my de jure claim on these 2. So that will involve a war. I mean, he's not that strong. His vassal is actually stronger than him. But I'm obviously going to wait to put up those points. So, oh, sorry. New expansion to make things fun. Time to play Galactic Megacore. That, yes, it looks really good. And would you stream it? You mean stream Stellaris or stream multiplayer or stream the new DLC? I would stream the new DLC if I got a key for it. That's the usual deal for that. But obviously I've got Crusader Kings 2 it's currently in the hopper, so yeah, so I think the priority is going to be getting my military strength back up so that I can conduct a campaign on the land that I have. The bit of good news that I have is that this character is a pretty good steward, so they're going to have a fairly chunky domain, which is good news there. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get our treasures back, so I think what the next little bit's going to be for this Adamero, it's going to be focusing on taking the 2 duchies beside each other, consolidating that power, paying off the debt, obviously. But basically, this is going to be mostly about getting myself to sort of a military strength where maybe I don't want to wait. Maybe I want to take the kingdom by force. Obviously, I can actually try this stuff already, so I can do a plot for the claim. The drawback is, though, I don't think the rest of the vassals would be on side with me. So in this case, I think just taking more and more territory and building up my own individual strength as a duke will be what allows me to take advantage of a weak king. So even if this kid winds up taking over, right? If King Lando doesn't have what it takes, I can definitely. Well, you know what? As it is, his marshal's pretty low. So maybe just wait for him to get into a foolish war again, and that should be enough. As it is, I mean, I could... he also owes money to the Jewish moneylenders, so, I mean, one of the things that I could do is I could declare the war, I could raise the army, and then I could just go... you know, I could just go straight for... I could basically just go straight for his armies and sort of win through economy. But anyways, I think the main focus is going to be to seize these territories from Croatia. It looks like this guy's pretty weak. So we'll gobble up the 2 territories that we have. That'll be 2 full duchies I have to my name. And from that, I'll be able to take advantage of circumstances, and the most likely will be when my king winds up in another foolish war. So, as is our way, we'll save, and we'll resign, and as is the way. So, with a score of 14,222, we beat House de Genève, who were the Counts of Geneva in 1066. The house held this territory throughout the period. We're still Counts of Geneva in 1337. They never managed to climb any higher, but at the same time, they were able to cling on to their holdings. So, this was more or less the end of the story of Duke Gundold of Friuli, who is actually the most successful ruler in the family so far, 3,873 combined prestige and piety, and would have gotten more, potentially would have been king as well, save for some bad luck as well as some tactical blunders on my own part. But as we do, we will read the chronicle. Um, All right, this is when the trouble started. So in 873, tens of thousands of crows and birds invaded Verona just before harvest, causing much damage to the farmers' fields. Duchess Hildegard, the wife of Duke Gunnald of Friuli, died of camp fever on the 5th of July, 874. Duke Gunnald of Friuli married Baia, daughter of Count Nicolai of Nyassos. In 875, Duchess Baia, the wife of Duke Gunnald of Friuli, died after a disagreement with Emil on the 5th of July, 876. And he remarried Gallia, daughter of Count Hrondrad of Istria. In 877, a goat with 3 heads was born in Verona. In 878, Duke Gunnald of Friuli went to war against High Chief Farah of Pects and won the war against the chief, releasing his countrymen and adding a territory. In 880, Duke Gunnald of Friuli went to war against Duchess Guntrude of Carinthia, and Duke Gunnald of Friuli died in the dungeons of Bishop Innocentios of Argenton on the 20th of November, 880. His cousin Adamero succeeded him to the throne of the duchy with a grand ceremony in Verona. The giant destroyed several villages in Mantua, then disappeared without a trace. In 881, Duke Adamero of Friuli won a war against Duchess Guntrude of Carinthia, and he usurped the duchy of Carinthia from Guntrude. Agildulf, the firstborn son, was born to Duke Adamero of Friuli. In 882, Friuli saw an unusually bountiful harvest. In 883, a dragon was seen near the country of Treviso. And in 884, the earth shook for 3 days in Verona, killing 200 peasants and a priest. And absolutely no word of the barbaric acts of raiders setting fire to the magnum opus. Anyways, a quick apology to the Eyes of Sin, who was so kind to host me and say hello so early on. But I do need to be a little bit more disciplined in terms of my bedtimes. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you were reasonably entertained, even though there was a little more madness this time around. I am, however, going to host. Actually, Sin. Sin, can I just get you to say if you are available on Snapchat or Discord, or basically anything that I can communicate with you really quickly with? Just let me know the best way. It won't take long. I just want a quick question for your comrades. So I'm just trying to pick out someone to host, guys, and I had a quick question. Okay, I have been abandoned. I need to come up with a hosting choice. I am really sorry about this, guys. I'm screwing up the dismount. Okay. I know we did this last time, but I'm going to do another raid for Octavian Zero. For those of you who like Path of Exile, he is a Path of Exile primary streamer. He is, however, also a really big streamer who's been very supportive of me, and I don't get as many chances as I would like to host him. The recent history has been a bit of an exception. So, yeah, we will host Octavian Zero again. And as usual, the raid message, "We're tired of system talk, heard this place was better," or you can just hang out and see if it's your thing. Definitely recommend that you hang around. He is definitely a very friendly streamer and very down to earth. And he is the one I'll be hosting tonight. So as for what's coming up for the rest of the week, Wednesday is Cultist Simulator again. I will do my best to try and have some degree of content, maybe a little less general chatting, but no promises. And Friday actually is a bit of a mystery. So there might be Mass Effect, there might be something else science fiction related. But I will see you guys Wednesday, and we can have all of this fun again. And if you guys like Crusader Kings 2, that'll be next week. See ya.